All right, welcome back. We're talking about the Pirates, who got some good news, of course. Andrew McCutchen's back, and that's a win-win all the way around, I think. Will it make them a winning team? No. Will it help them and some of the younger guys? Yes. Guys, I want to ask you about this, and Pony, I'll start with you. I'm going to first talk about Bob Nutting was there, but he didn't speak. I find that not to be the best situation for Bob Nutting. He was there, he should have. And number two, shouldn't have been Bob Nutting calling Andrew and his wife and not the other way around?
Well, I do think last year they did not want him. I think the baseball ops did not want Andrew McCutchen. Remember, there was this whole hypothetical situation floated out there last year. So I think that's why Andrew McCutchen felt like he had to go over his owner's head, or had to go over the GM's head, per se, to get in touch with the owner to facilitate
shouldn't the owner have made the call?
He wants
to sell tickets after all, and that's a.
But I'm saying, do you want Bob Nutting running their baseball operation?
This is a different case. This is a PR move first and foremost, I think. And they want to sell tickets. They're looking for anything.
But Bob, but guys like this are on every bad team. Every bad team has a guy in his late 30s who's on a one-year contract who's trying, whether it was Kenny Lofton or Reggie Sanders or Matt Stairs.
But it's different when it's
I understand that, but it's not something that's out of the ordinary for a team that's ticketed for 90 to 100 losses to have somebody like Andrew McCutchen.
And they've got about 4 of them this year.
Yeah.
Right? So 40s if you include Rich Hill. I think it's a no-brainer.
That brings it up to near 50 now.
I think it's a no-brainer, like you said, Bob. I mean, look, I understand this team's not going to be a playoff team next year. Andrew can blow all the wonderful, beautiful black and gold smoke up our butts he wants to. And his press conference on Friday, and when he was on with Andrew and Chris.
You didn't buy any of that he thinks they might be good?
No. I don't think you can look at this team and believe.
They could be better, and he can help them be better.
That's a hurdle that's all the way down here.
Cruz. I think that was legit.
Yeah. And it's hard not to be excited about playing with O'Neal Cruz. Absolutely. But I think I'll take this for what it is. I don't care if it's a PR move. When I texted my daughter to tell her that Andrew McCutchen was coming back to Pittsburgh, she was ecstatic, texting me back in all caps.
Yeah, how about Lisa? She didn't cry or jump for joy, Bob?
She loves Andrew.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what I say. It's a PR move. Okay.
And
my question about it is, why didn't Nutting look for it first? Why did Andrew have to reach out to them? That's my point. I mean, he should know that. He's trying to sell tickets. Who better to do it than Andrew McCutchen?
Far be it from me to be somebody to defend Bob Nutting, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. But how do we know Bob Nutting doesn't email or text his GM a week into the postseason?
Well, we don't know because he doesn't talk.
And that's a valid point. But how do we know he didn't say, hey, is there any way we could bring Kutch back? Is that something we're interested in? And Ben Cherington may have said, no, he had a 700 OPS last year and he's 36. I'm not interested.
But to Andrew's point, if I'm Ben Cherington, the last thing I want is Bob Nutting going surfing the wire for 39-year-olds or whatever they are. I'm not saying that Andrew's that, but other guys are that age. Him not being there was just not to be a distraction. They wanted to have a feel-good moment, and if Bob's there, something happens, or people look at the picture and immediately freak out instead of just look at a picture
well,
of
if Nutting's there, Jeff has to ask him tough questions. That's the whole point.
Nutting should have done this at the end of the season or some point. When's the last time he talked? That's my point.
Right.
And
what
would you ask
him? What would be your number one question for him, Bob? I'm curious now.
Well, number one would be about spending habits. Number two would be about whether or not you're actually committed to bringing this young group up. And if you get a guy or two who's really good, are you going to commit to him beyond his arbitration years?
Do you look at the way they've handled Reynolds as a mistake, as an example of bad ownership?
We'll see how it ends. And I think they should sign him. That's what I've said all along, because he's only 27, Chris. So I wish they would. And that would show me at least they're committed to keeping somebody.
See, I don't think Brian Reynolds is here the next time this team is good enough to compete. I just don't.
Well, but shouldn't they be good enough to compete next year?
He's 27. When do you think they're going to be able to compete?
It could be another. I mean, have you seen this organization?
Chris. No.
I think Cherington's plan is for them to be good next year. It better be.
Well, they should be incrementally better. They won't win, but
that can be the plan.
If they're not better next year,
that doesn't mean it's going to work.
But they'll have some of those pieces that they've been talking about in the fold next year.
If their pitchers pan out, and become,
which is an if.
Yeah, but they show potential. We've talked about potential.
If they're a legitimate baseball team and they stink this year with no signs of getting better, Cherington and Shelton should be gone after this year. My opinion. That's a long enough time.
I can't say after. I mean, if they go, 59 and whatever this year, then yeah, okay, we could talk about cleaning house maybe. But if they show more incremental growth this year, then hey, it is what it is. We know how hamstrung Ben Cherington is. I mean, he's not going to go out and start buying up all-stars.
I didn't say that, but when you have a guy in your system who they acquired in the McCutchen trade. They won that trade. He's 27. He has OPS numbers that are commensurate with guys who've gotten $150+ million. Why wouldn't you want to bring him in?
I've just gotten tired of trying to deal with fantasy land with the Pirates, which is they're going to all of a sudden start keeping their young stars around. They're not. They're never going to do that. They're never going to be that team. So I deal in reality land, which is
never.
I have to.
So in other words,
never.
if O'Neal Cruz
not as long as
turns
Bob
out,
Nutting owns them.
well, that's then get out. You know, I mean, that's the whole thing.
That's something for him to decide. As long as he's the owner, I limit my expectations on how long I'm going to be attached to certain players.
All right.
But I think to your point earlier, like this is a one-off. This is a unique thing. Like you're not going to go look, ooh, Josh Harrison's still playing. Let's bring him back too.
It's Andrew McCutchen.
Right. It's Andrew McCutchen. Just to have him in the room for his presence, he'll make up his salary probably before the season starts and tickets sold. So I think and he's not blocking. If he was a shortstop and blocking O'Neal Cruz, then I'd question it. But there's no outfielder you're like, oh man, I can't wait to see this guy.
I don't know. I go back and forth on Reynolds. I don't have Reynolds. They've made baseball trades and gotten rid of guys like Giles and Bay, who I still put at a level above him. I think he's somewhere between above average or someplace between good and very good.
How much is he worth? What would you offer him?
Well, look, I mean, he's probably in the same ballpark as like a Brandon Nimmo who re-signed with the Mets. But to me, if you're unless you've got a stacked pitching team and you're light on hitting and you win 90 games because your pitching is out of this world, in a good lineup, I think he's like a 6-hitter.
Yeah, he's a second-tier
star
on a great
Am I
team.
wrong in saying that?
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that.
He's not the linchpin of a World
Do you
Series.
think he's an Andrew
playoff team.
McCutchen type?
I think he's a really good baseball player.
Better than Marte in his prime?
No.
I think he's there with
I think he's there with him.
man.
I do. But the fact
he's
is,
put up.
I mean,
Better than
nobody
Bay
around
and
him.
Giles, too?
No one around him. In the
I don't
lineup.
know,
we got to
guys.
go to a break. We'll be back with more as we continue right here with the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown.